Sound check 1, 2, 3. Sound check 1, 2, 3.
Good morning. Welcome to Planning Committee. It is Friday, May 23rd, and we do have quorum. So in chambers with me today is Councillor McMeekin, Pauls, Taddison, Beatty, Kretsch, and Maureen Wilson. Online with me is Councillor Matt Francis and Councillor Alex Wilson. So let's get this party started. Please have all of your electronic devices switched to a non-audible function during committee meetings. And did that already. Okay. Clerk Kelsey, oh wait, before I do that, I want to be able to say, we got some rock star students from City Lab here. Wave everybody, yay. So these are students from City Lab, they're doing a semester in residence. Literally, it is the shortest possible semester in residence by 1 month. So they're only here for essentially the month of May. So we're super excited to have them here. Committee, just in case if they ask, reach out to you guys. Maybe just say, yes, I'll take this meeting. Thank you. And thank you to staff for being here. Thank you to some of our delegates for being here. So let's get on with this agenda. Clerk Kelsey, are there any addendum items to this agenda?
Yes, Chair Wang. Under delegations, we have added 6.1, Denise Harvey, respecting dirt dumping in rural areas, and 6.2, delegations respecting 1494 Upper Wellington Street, which is item 12.1 on today's agenda. We have an added delegation from Helen Sardo and 3 added written submissions. Under public hearings, 8.1, applications for official plan and zoning bylaw amendments for lands at 559 Garner Road East. We have 3 added written submissions, a registered delegation from Karen Hewlett, and added staff presentation. For 8.2, applications for zoning bylaw amendment and draft plan of subdivision for lands located at 515 Jones Road. We have an added written submission and staff presentation. For item 8.3, application for zoning bylaw amendment for lands at 255 Lewis Road, added written submission and staff presentation. And under items for consideration, 9.1, application for cash in lieu of parking for lands located at 121 and 135 Mary Street. There's an added staff presentation.
Oh, that's it, eh? Okay. Are there any amendments to this agenda as presented? Councillor Jeff Beatty, please.
Thank you, Chair, and through you, I'm going to be moving a deferral on 8.3.
Okay, everyone is cool with that, so may I have a mover and a seconder for this agenda to be approved as presented? Councillor Taddison? As amended, you're right, as amended. Councillor Taddison and Councillor Beatty, this is a e-scribe vote, please, so may I have your vote electronically? Also, today is the Eritrea Day of Independence, and this is why we are regaled with so much music out front. Vote is up. And that carries 9-0. Thank you. We are now moving on to declarations of interest. Members of committee, are there any declarations of interest? Other than being interested, Councillor McMeekin. Okay, thank you. Let's move on to approval of minutes. This is for April 29th. May I have a mover and a seconder to adopt the minutes of the April 29th, 2025 meeting? Councillor Kretsch and Councillor McMeekin. And this is a hand vote. May I have a hand vote, please? That looks like everyone. Awesome. So let's move on to delegations. So before we begin our delegations for today, members are reminded that questions of the delegations are for clarification purposes only and not for debate. And a note to all of our delegates, you have 5 minutes to complete your delegation. You will hear a tone after the 4-minute mark, and then you'll have an additional minute to finish up. So the very first delegate, may I please have Denise Harvey. This is respecting dirt dumping in rural areas. Denise, come on down.
Hi.
Thank you, Denise. Anytime you're ready.
Okay, I guess I got to talk fast, eh? Well, I'm ready. I got 2 pages of different properties that I'll leave. I can list them all off later. The property I'm concerned with is thanks for listening to my concerns to begin with, is 921 Linden Road. This property was bought around 2019 with ill intentions. A permit was issued to this person, and they were wanting to just dump dirt. The permit lists that it doesn't have a time limit on it, but it's to return to agricultural land. It's a farm. It was a farm before. It didn't even really need that much dirt because it was farmed for many, many years, 40 years plus, probably a decade before that even, Okay, now another permit has been issued to this property, and the first permit was never followed through. None of it was leveled, none of it was done. Now they're starting to level to get this second permit through to dump more dirt. They have an ad on Mr. Phil, which is a dirt dumping thing on the email for 10,000 loads. How do we know where these loads come from? Nobody's following this. There's a list of all the farms that I know of that I went around with Grant and Donna Skelly's main man that are still destroyed, have never been made into farmland. It's a moneymaker for people, and it's not the way it should be. Anyway, I'm going to finish. I'm going to go fast because 5 minutes isn't much time. The owner operates two businesses on this property. One is Holland Trucking, the other one is Total Excavation. He wanted to bring his businesses here at the beginning, all the dump trucks, the whole works, put the quash on that because I came and complained. And I'm with the group that was involved with Waterdown Gardens also. There's another property, never will be right again. He's broken his permits twice by dumping in illegal time slots and bringing stuff from outside the city, I presume, or plans on it. Okay, where are we? Yeah. I got the one about the ad on Mr. Phil for 10,000 loads. You may ask why I got involved. It was because another neighbor at 2139 5th Concession started dumping dirt to make money. The trucks ruined the road, which us taxpayers paid for. They were lined up and down the road. That property has never been farmed on that land that was dumped. All these properties have never been farmed since. The farms are ruined, most of them. Okay. Waterdowns are, they're either for sale, most of the properties now, or destroyed. People found a way to make a quick buck and had no intentions of farming. I think 6 years from the first permit should give a good farmer or a half-decent farmer time to start leveling that land and start putting crops in. Why was another permit issued to this person when he never fulfilled the first part of the first permit? Most of these individuals have no intention of farming, but are wanting to run dirt farms, is what we call them, for profit. And they're making big money. Don't kid yourself, huge money. I've farmed in this area for over 40 years. My brother farmed, my father farmed, my grandfather farmed, and my great-grandfather farmed. I love the land and I love farming. Please take a hard look at these properties. Please take a hard look at what's going on here. Nobody follows through to see the flooding. 7th Concession Road has been closed because of the property up there that's listed here, and the drains are never cleaned out, and it's flooded because of that. There's a farm beside the one on Middletown Road that has never had water laying. It's a chicken farm, and they're afraid of the avian flu now because of all the waterfowl coming in there. They don't check the drainage. When the land is destroyed, it's destroyed. If they aren't going to ever farm this land, why are they allowed to do that? What's this, you know, I look at the song that says pave paradise to put up a parking lot. Well, you know what? Food is going to be an issue in this country, and it is already. And we need to start looking at this. You know, to dump dirt for their profit, it's wrong. And there's no farming and there's no food. So you guys think about it. I've got a list of all the farms that have been destroyed pretty much by this dirt dumping. And how can they give another permit when he never fulfilled the first permit? That's my questions, and I can leave these if I don't know whether you guys want to make copies of it, because you need to look at these places. Like when I went around with Grant, I showed him, and there's probably tons more than that, probably tons more.
Thank you, Denise. Thank you so much. If you
Okay.
did want to leave those, you can leave
Yep.
them with the clerk, and then that's something that we can also photocopy and just ship out to the rest of committee members. Stay up there because just in case we have any questions. So are there any questions for this delegate at all? Councillor Tattison, please.
Hi, thanks for coming in today. As a rural councillor, I feel your pain, and I see it happening in my region, in my area as well. So you say that these people that are having this dumping, do you know if this is currently illegal dumping, or do they have permits?
Well, this one has a permit, a second permit, and he never fulfilled his first permit. Some is illegal, some, most of the places are for sale now. The one on 97 Highway, they dumped so much dirt there within a couple of weeks. First, two buildings burned. These people buy these properties to do this a lot of the time. And this one at 921 was bought to do that. And I kind of got the kibosh on it because he moved from another yard somewhere else. He wanted to open a big yard and dump dirt. And like that's they're started on ill intentions.
I want to thank you for highlighting that, because I think that that's an issue that we do need to deal with. I deal with it every day, and I just want to share that I have city staff that attend to issues that are in my area. So more than welcome if anything is in my area to deal with it. When you say huge money, do you have any idea or any estimates of like what that amount is per truckload that gets dumped and what the profits are?
They were making big money, like especially for the contaminated stuff that was dumped across the road from me to begin with. Like, and the road was absolutely ruined. There was ruts in the pavement. The trucks were lined up and down. And it's happening all the time. And it's coming from Cambridge, from Burlington. A lot of these loads are coming outside the city too. And who's to monitor that? I follow people. I've followed these trucks. And they're not supposed to even dump outside the city soil. And it's bad.
Yeah,
Be safe about the whole following of trucks, please.
No, you're exactly right, because we have residents in our area that have followed trucks and they've come from outside of our area, but they're actually, in my case, they're traveling through my ward and then just dumping on the outside border in Haldeman. And we caught those, and then we dealt with the Haldeman councillors. So I just want to say that we have been looking at ways of dealing with this from a municipal, provincial kind of collaboration, and it does need further work. So I really appreciate you coming in today to highlight this, because we still are not meeting the challenge yet, okay?
Well, the new permit has changed a bit. It's giving them another in. Oh, I'm making it into farmland. Well, you never touched the property till you got another permit. Like, give me a break. Like, you never leveled anything. You never even had any intention of farming.
Thank you so much. I really do appreciate what you're saying, and again, like, I understand your frustration.
Yeah, it is, because it feels like I'm doing all the legwork, and bylaw goes out there, oh, nothing's wrong. They tore down every flipping tree. They're in conservation areas tearing down trees, and it's illegal, and nobody's doing a thing about it.
Thank you, Councillor. I also have Councillor Alex Wilson, who's online. I'd like to ask you a question.
Yeah, through you, Chair, just want to echo Councillor Tattison's thanks for coming out. I represent just the other side of Highway 8, so the main part of Rockton, if you will, but very close to this area. And certainly will echo that this is a concern. I'm just mostly curious if the delegate would be able to expand on some of those conversations that were mentioned to have with Grant from MPP Skelly's office. So the city has a higher standard than the province's kind of baseline regulation that requires this permit. And I really hear that there's some attention that we could do as how are we giving out these permits? What are our checks and balances? But the base system is regulated by the province and the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks. So when there's violations or you're seeing things where you're questioning where Phil's coming from, just I'm wondering through you, Chair, what that conversation looked like and if there's any commitment for provincial accountability on this matter as well, because soil dumping is a provincially regulated matter, and then the city has site plan on top of that to try and add extra protection. I'm hearing that we may need to do better at that extra protection. I want to value that comment, but I'm just wondering at the base level, what was that comment, or was that a part of the discussion?
Denise, were you able to?
Well, the last time this was happening, I went to Donna and, the last time this was happening, I went to Donna Skelly and Grant is like her main man. He rode around, I showed him a lot of the places. He knows, they know. I don't know what their responsibility is. The conservation knew. The Grand River Conservation knows. Like, oh, well, they're, like, conservation is something that's really important to me. Like, I'm not a tree hugger. I'm not a crazy person that doesn't have some logic on things. Like, I know what farming is. I've farmed a lot of years, and I know what people are doing. You know, like, I know what they're doing. I'm not, like, you need the farmers to talk.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. Counselor, any other follow-up questions?
No, thank you. That was my only follow. I just wanted to see if there was conversations in that about how the Ministry of Environment's doing their own enforcement in this, just because that's the body that does the enforcement for this. So just, I really appreciated hearing more about what that conversation involved. Thank you.
Great,
Thanks.
thank you. Last on the list is Counselor McMeekin, please.
Yes, thanks. You don't sound like a crazy person to me. So thank you for being here. I was intrigued with your reference to food sovereignty and the ability to feed ourselves and the importance of farmers feeding cities and all of that. Are you aware of the, I'm just curious whether this has permeated the farm community yet or not. Are you aware that Bobby Ann Brady, the independent MPP, and Mike Schreiner, MPP, have...
Sorry.
Yeah, we have that problem here too. That's probably the Premier calling you for advice. Yeah, I doubt it. I wish he would call you for advice, because there's a proposal now to create a food belt to supplement the green belt to protect all class 1, 2, and 3 and agricultural lands in perpetuity. Are you aware of that, given your passion for farming and?
Well, I'm aware that I'm going to get on the.
Denise, can you talk into the mic, please?
I'm aware I'm going to try and get on the Ontario Federation of Agriculture next time they have an election, because we need to look into that too. Like,
Yeah.
they're giving out they're giving OFA numbers to people that aren't really farming.
Yeah, well,
I'm sorry.
fair ball.
You got a few chickens, you're a farmer? Nah.
So you raised it, and by the way, the Ontario Federation of Agriculture is one of the groups that's leading the efforts to create the food
Good.
belt. So thanks for coming in. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. That is all of our speakers. Thank you. Oh, Counselor Crutch, please.
I just wanted to follow up, if I could get a bit more clarity from you about one thing. It does sound like Donna Scully took you for a ride. And so
She might have.
Yeah. What you said literally took you for a ride in the
No,
car.
she didn't. No, Grant did.
Oh, pardon me.
Her main man.
Her office took you for a ride. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Literally, and maybe figuratively. What I'm trying to understand here
Well,
is.
if you think they did, they might have. I don't know.
I don't know.
I've spoke to them.
Yeah. What did they actually say to you though about their responsibility?
They just went with me and saw, and I don't know what they did. I didn't follow through because they didn't give me any comment. They said that they were working on it, you know.
Yeah. So okay, my assumption was correct. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I don't know, but this permit was issued by the city of Hamilton.
Okay.
The
Thank
permit I'm talking about was a second permit issued by the city of Hamilton. They never fulfilled their first permit. Why would you issue them another permit?
Oh, I think I understand your point about that.
Okay.
And there's a couple different issues going on here, right? You're talking
Yeah.
one about the permitting process that the city goes through and how we understand when we have one permit, then we give someone another permit. I think you're also saying, if I understand you, that there's also an issue more generally in these rural areas with dumping and those kinds of issues.
Oh,
of course.
illegal dumping.
Right, which is the province is supposed to enforce all that.
Yeah,
Right.
the illegal dumping, I guess they are they?
I think so, yes. Yeah.
But the permit was issued from the city of Hamilton. It's not illegal, but the first permit was never, nothing. How many years do you get to start farming? 20 years?
Right, good question.
Like, a good farmer would have that leveled. And there was mountains of dirt there. He
Yeah.
doesn't need any more dirt. Like, I'm
Enough,
sorry.
okay, there's enough dirt there. Okay, yeah, thank
I've
you.
farmed for 40 years and I've never put any dirt on my land. You know, come on. Like there was, and he's doing no farming. He has nothing but a few chickens. He wants to operate a business there.
Thank you
Plain and
so
simple.
much. Seeing as there are no other speakers, thank you so much, Denise, for
you.
coming down. And we are now going to receive this delegation. So may I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Taddison and Councillor Beatty. And I need a hand vote, please. Yep, you can just walk out that way. Perfect. There you go. Hand vote. I think we're all good, so that vote carries. We are now moving on to 6.2. This is delegations respecting 1494 Upper Wellington Street, and I have Helen Sardo. Helen, come on down to the podium. All right, Helen, you have 4 minutes, you'll hear a ding. 5 minutes, you'll hear a second ding.
Okay, thank you.
Anytime you're ready.
All right. Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Helen Sardo, as I've been introduced, and I live near the proposed development at 1494 Upper Wellington. That proposal is by Valerie Homes. I'm here on behalf of a large and deeply concerned group of local residents. Many of us have already submitted our letters outlining our objections, and we certainly hope that everyone on council and the mayor's office and everyone at Ward 8 and Ward 7 has had a chance to review them. This morning, I want to highlight just a few of the most urgent concerns we have, and most importantly, ask the city to send a legal and planning representative to the Ontario Land Tribunal to oppose the development in the current form. I guess the merit hearing is on June 11th, and that's why it's on council right now. First, the scale and character of the development. Our neighborhood is a neighborhood of low-rise homes. There's senior residences, retirement apartments, and long-term care facilities, and a hospice in the area as well. It's a quiet, community-oriented area. And what's proposed by Valerie Homes is two 20-story towers on a 4-story podium, which is completely out of scale with the surrounding areas. Even the city's own design review panel found the proposal excessive, both in height and massing, saying it fails to support the character of the existing community. And they also pointed out that there is no inclusion of commercial spaces in the design to help foster the city's goal of a walkable, inclusive community. And I can agree that as I met a lot of the residents as I did the walking around and got a petition signed, around 250 residents. A lot of people expressed, why wasn't there anything to make it, part of the community, whether it was a coffee shop, a hair salon, or you'd be able to buy pet food. We are of the mind that this would not be a gentle intensification. It would be a massive, abrupt, and disruptive transformation that overwhelms the people who already lived here. The intrusion in privacy as well, and the level of intensification would be an overwhelming burden to the community. Second worry we have is infrastructure and traffic. Stone Church Road and Upper Wellington are already overburdened. During peak times, traffic is bumper to bumper. This is before hundreds of new resident units are added. Schools are over capacity, and local teachers have expressed heartbreaking stories of the pressure they're under in some of the meetings we've had. We all know about the critical shortages in family doctor, urgent care, ER access, and these may be provincial or federal issues, but the city has a responsibility to factor them in when assessing the impact of a proposal of this size. Third, there's a number of unanswered questions. The city's own planning department has flagged many outstanding and critical issues that have yet to be addressed by the developer, Valerie Homes. And without answers to these issues, the proposal violates several regulatory requirements. And the planning department has identified the following issues. Sustainability. The development lacks green infrastructure and potentially breaching Hamilton's planning and climate policies go forward. Wind impact, there are unaddressed findings from the wind study which could violate urban design and safety standards. I remember that even looking at the drawings, that in some areas it was uncomfortable winds around some corners, and residents' backyards, like mine to the south, are right there. I would like to sit on my deck without unpleasant winds. Archaeology, very important. There's a missing stage 4 acknowledgement letter from the ministry, and that's a breach of the Ontario Heritage Act. Parking access. The access from Stone Church Road East conflicts with the transportation planning requirements to use the Upper Wellington. Airport zoning is also a problem. Noise mitigation, the servicing report, and infrastructure upgrades are a worry. So how can this be allowed to move forward with the tribunal when so many core planning and procedural questions remained unanswered? Advancing a development without resolving this issue would be a clear breach of multiple legal and regulatory frameworks, exposing the city to probably appeals or enforcements. I will repeat it again. How can this move forward at the tribunal as it is now? Fourth, good faith negotiation was ignored. City staff have already rejected Valerie's original 20-story tower proposal and worked hard to negotiate a compromise of a scaled-down development to 10 and 12 stories. But Valerie Homes instead is taking the 20-story proposal straight to the OLT, and without addressing this myriad of outstanding issues. And that's not good faith. It's pushing the community aside and hoping that it won't stand for us. So we ask you, please don't let this happen without a fight. We urge you, as our elected representatives and stewards of the city, to send legal counsel and planning to the Ontario Land Tribunal, push back, demand answers, and above all, ensure whatever eventually is built at 1494 Upper Wellington is something that works for the community, but not against it. You've worked
Sorry.
hard.
Do you have one more sentence just to close it all off?
Yeah, I do. I just want whatever's built at 1494 Upper Wellington to shape the community for generations and ensure it's something we can live with, not something we're forced to live under.
Thank you, Helen, very much for your delegation. Speaker's list is open. Councillor Pauls, please.
Thank you for coming. And I want you to know that I literally live for about 40 years in that corner. And that corner has changed many times with nursing home in front of me, nursing home beside me, and that's just being built, and that's going to be, I think, an 8-story.
Yep, it's almost done, yeah.
It's almost done, and I understand that corner very, very well. And even though it's not my corner, it is my corner, but it's in Ward 8.
Yeah.
But it does affect Ward 7.
Yeah.
And I want to tell you that we're going to be going into camera to talk about this, and I have many, many concerns.
Yeah.
Not only Ward 7, but Ward 8, and even people that travel along Stonechurch.
Yeah, Stonechurch is only a lane in each direction, a central turning lane, and it can't be widened.
Right.
Yeah, it's
But
a problem.
I think I heard from the community, and I've been talking to a lot of you to say I'm on your side. I understand this. And I will be asking questions in camera about the zoning changes that we've had with the EA, all the height, that has gone 20-story. It's not attainable.
It would be the largest, like, in that area, and there's no retail or anything. Like, it would make a community more car dependent than it is now. And I know that, they've reduced the amount of spaces and everything for cars, but I mean, I've taken the bus to work in Ancaster, and it's a 45-minute plus ordeal. I mean, and then when I get home, it's like 2 buses to get groceries. I mean, you wouldn't be able to do that,
No, but I think the main, in my opinion, and we had meetings, and I was at the meeting, it's the traffic. Because within 2 kilometers from Upper James, the West 5th, that has a high rise.
Yes.
Then Upper James at that corner, 800 meters where this new 20 stories buildings are going to go, there's going to be massive building there.
Yeah, there's 3, 2 on the south side and 1 smaller one behind the Tim Hortons on the north side. Yeah, it's a lot of buildings for the load on that traffic corridor. But the other thing is also, like I said, the character of the neighborhood. Like when you put things that are like, that tall, you have a lot of probably troubles with infrastructure and like loading on all that as well. I mean, there's no studies, I don't think, that they've done finalized as far as like sewer and water management studies, I don't think are finalized.
I just want you to be aware that my colleagues will learn more when we go into camera.
Okay, I appreciate that.
And I want to make sure that the public, the community, Ward 7 and Ward 8 knows that we are, and even though Councillor Danko's not here, it has landed on my lap, which I am glad to take on.
Well, like I said, the community is not against intensification. They just want something right-sized for the community. I mean, I think that that's all we're asking, is that you take a look at what can be sustained in that area, what feels like a blend with the community, and not work against the community, you know, segregating into two separate things. So this massive podium takes the entire property up, and then this, you know, 20-story towers on top. I mean, it's just crazy.
We just want a reasonable buildings there that will.
People need homes, but yeah, something reasonable.
Okay, thank you, and we'll be talking in camera about this.
Appreciate
Thank
that.
you.
Thank you. Seeing as there are no other speakers, thank you very much, Helen, for your delegation today. Committee, we also have 3 written submissions. So at this point, may I have a mover and a seconder to receive both the delegations and the written correspondence? Councillor Pauls and Councillor McMeekin. This is a hand vote. May I have a hand vote, please? Oh, wait, sorry, Councillor Crutch has a question.
Thank you. I had a question for staff. As a result of the delegations, is it okay to ask that now?
On 1494, or is it about
Yes.
both?
Yep.
Oh,
1494.
okay.
Yeah.
I think I should still take the hand vote to receive the delegations, and then we can ask staff. So let's do the hand vote first, and then we'll open it up for questions to staff. Hand vote, please. Looks like everyone, that carries. Councillor Crutch to staff, please.
Yeah, the refrain from the delegate was that we would send legal experts. I just want maybe to clarify for the public what the process is that we use when these things come before us. So nothing confidential, but like what we do when there's an appeal filed, just so everyone's aware of that process.
I love
I
how.
think it's a relatively simple explanation, but I think it's important to get the answer to that question.
Thank you for that, Councillor Crutch. I love how everyone literally looked down the line to Solicitor McDonald. So Solicitor McDonald, it's all on you, sir.
Good morning, Patrick McDonald, Legal Services. Through the chair, so in instances of appeals for non-decision, so where an application is made, but council does not make a decision within the statutory time periods under the Act, city staff would require instructions from council on how to proceed. So we would come forward, we would seek those instructions, and the standard practice then is that once those instructions come to planning committee and are then ratified by council, the city will make its position and the outcome of those instructions public through the OLT process, which would typically be through the first case management conference.
Thanks. And ultimately, if parties at the tribunal wish to settle, they both have to agree to do so. And ultimately, the tribunal has the final say. I'm just trying to make sure that's also known publicly, that what the process is there in terms of just like the outcome.
Through the chair, that's correct. So the council decision-making authority then is in the hands of the tribunal to exercise. They are the sole deciding authority. So regardless of whether there is a contested hearing or any agreement between any parties to it, it's ultimately up to the tribunal to make a decision on whether to approve what is before them.
Thanks for the clarity. I appreciate it.
Excellent. Any other questions for staff at all at this time? Councillor Pauls, please.
So, Solicitor McDonald, was this related to the residents when they want to know step by step what's happening in our city? We did receive a lot of emails wanting to know, how did we get there?
So through the chair, if I'm understanding the question correctly, so generally where residents have concerns, the city would explain the process that we've explained it, and would direct the residents, if they want to get involved, to reach out to the case coordinator at the tribunal, because ultimately the city takes instructions from council, and we cannot take instruction or act on behalf of individual residents. So if individual residents want to get involved, they would have to go to the tribunal's case coordinator, and they would have to seek either participant or party status, which they would do at the first case management conference as well. So the best way to do that is to reach out to the Ontario Land Tribunal's case coordinator and ask to be informed of any upcoming meetings, and then they will provide a notice which outlines the steps that a resident would have to take to get involved if they wish to do so.
Thank you for that. The last question, sometimes we say it's out of our hands, it's all OLT. Has the city ever won a case where a builder was going to build 20, 25-story, 40 stories, and the people got involved, the city got involved, and we stopped it? Has it ever happened?
So through the chair, those specifics in terms of height and outcomes, I can't speak specifically to those particular parameters, but yes, the city does, we certainly have won decisions. I can't predict the outcome or comment on that in open session, but certainly regularly the city does oppose matters before the tribunal.
So, thank you. I just want the public to know that, I've got a lot of emails. They want me to fight for this, and I want to fight for this because we have to do the right thing. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Councillor Pauls. Seeing as there are no other questions, let's move on to item 7, which is items for information. This is for 7.1, PEG 25100, current practices with respect to the protection of agricultural lands and sustainable development in relation to provincial projects and excess soil management practices. My roadmap says that we have to receive this item, but I don't know if there's any staff that want to give an overview or if there's anything that, or if committee would like an overview at all. I'm just going to go with mover and a seconder to receive this item, please. So Councillor Beattie, Councillor Crutch, any discussion on item 7.1, please? Councillor Alex Wilson, please.
Thank you. I appreciate this overview as an information report. Would it be possible to have a comment, especially given the delegation today, just about a little bit more of the due diligence regimes? So I think that in the report, when applying for a site alteration permit, it talks about the what's that staff are looking for. So agricultural operation, membership in an organization, those types of things. If there could just maybe be a little bit more detail added as to how those what's are checked off, what are the actions staff are doing, or what does that due diligence process look like to confirm those details?
Thank you. Can you just also introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, Carlo Amandoli. I'm the manager of construction in the Growth Management Division, acting on behalf of Ashraf Hanna today. Through the chair to the councillor. Yeah, there are a number of checks and balances that we do require to be submitted. Farm business registration numbers. We have plans that are prepared by professional engineers. In this particular instance, there is a soils consultant on site managing the material. They give us a log every couple of weeks of where the material comes from, what testing has been submitted, and we ensure that the quality of the material is suitable for this purpose. So at the end of the day, we try to create a balance as, with the MECP requirements for the beneficial reuse of soils. They don't want good soils ending up in landfills, and that's kind of the problem right now is it's just easier to send it to a landfill and pay. So when you get some good clean soil and someone wants to put it on their property, provided there are no drainage impacts, we try to monitor the condition of the roads. We take securities for any damage of the roads, and we take securities for the work as well in the event that the applicant defaults on his application.
Thank you. Councillor?
Thank you. Just 2 quick follow-ups. One is, in receiving a lot of that information that's kind of provincially mandated, so the location of where the soils come from, those types of things, city staff are receiving that information, but don't necessarily have the resources and aren't necessarily verifying or independently vetting that. So for example, there's an engineer that's saying, yes, this could work. There's a certified person here, or they're saying, here's where we got the fill from via provincial system that's in place. And we're making sure those kind of check boxes are checked. Maybe if there's some specific concerns, there would be follow-up, but just maybe on a more general case, are you able to let me know, is it more about making sure the reports are in, or to what extent are those reports being vetted, validated? And I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. I think it's just helpful to understand what the current regime is.
Acting Director, please.
Yeah, through the chair to the councillor. Actually, it's a lot easier than you think because we don't permit soil from outside city limits. So most of the soil coming in or onto any properties through a permit are coming from our development projects. Most of them are greenfield developments. We know the quality of the soil. We have those reports. Professionals have tested the material. And so we do follow up in that manner. In this particular instance, if we want to get back to the delegation and that particular property, this particular individual owns a hauling company. He has 12 trucks. He operates 4 of them on this site. This permit has been issued for 4 months. There's only been 79 loads coming on this property. And it gives us a list of where they're coming from pool projects, or landscape projects, and we cross-reference that with what the building division has on file.
Thank you. So I appreciate knowing there is a cross-reference in place. I think it's just helpful to understand how those checks that we have in the city that are contained in this information report, like what the process work is. So I think it's helpful to bring that forward. For illegal dumping or non-permitted dumping, obviously that falls out of this bylaw. This is folks putting soil on their site that not going through the process, not necessarily with provincial permissions. That's an MLE issue. Is there any other follow-up, or could it just be talked about what the enforcement regime looks like for that?
Through the chair to the councillor, we rely on our colleagues in MLE to assist us with enforcement. We have administrative penalties that we issue. We've managed to stop a lot of these sites before it gets really bad. So the material that does come on site, we've had some of them remove the material, or we've had some of them come in and apply for a permit. But fines have been issued, and I think 2025 we're upwards of around $80,000 in fines, including court costs. So the enforcement has improved since when we rewrote this bylaw in 2019.
I do have Director Smith also on the bench. I don't know if he needs to add anything more. And there's a big shrug and a shake of head. Okay, so thank you so much. Councillor Wilson, any other questions?
If I could just a quick comment, I'd say I think it's worth acknowledging that despite a continuous improvement regime and despite kind of escalating things from fines to enforcement, even there's been injunctions done. I think the city, it's fair to say, in recent years, since 2019, has been ramping up enforcement efforts. But I do think the delegate and many folks can easily point to examples where, regardless of whether or not it's been a municipal issue or kind of a joint jurisdictional issue, there have been some loopholes or properties that have been able to slip through the cracks. And I think folks are definitely looking for answers there. I appreciate this information report because I think understanding how the process works, understanding what the types of reviews city staff are doing, what's the responsibility of the MECP, allow when those properties are kind of finding through loopholes, allow us to kind of identify what those processes are that are allowing bad faith actions to continue and hopefully start closing those gaps. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing as there are no further speakers, I do need a mover and a second. No, I got that already. Okay, so I need a hand vote, please, to receive this presentation. And that looks like everyone. That vote carries. We are now moving on to public hearings. The public has been advised how to pre-register to be a delegate at a public hearing on today's agenda. If a person or public body would otherwise have an ability to appeal the decision of Council, City of Hamilton to the Ontario Land Tribunal, but the person or public body does not make oral submissions at a public meeting or make written submissions to the City of Hamilton before the bylaw is passed, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision. If a person or public body does not make more oral submissions at a public meeting or make written submissions to the City of Hamilton before the bylaw is passed, a person or public body may not be added to the party of the hearing of the appeal before the Ontario Land Tribunal unless, in the opinion of the tribunal, there are reasonable grounds to do so. All right, 8.1. This is for PED 25093, application for the official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment for lands located at 559 Garner Road East, Ancaster in Ward 12, and this was deferred from the April 29th meeting. Michael Fiorino is here, so would committee like to see the presentation? Okay, I do need a mover and a seconder to waive the staff presentation. Councillor Crutch, Councillor Francis. This is a hand vote, please. May I have your hand vote to waive the presentation? Looks like everyone, and that carries. We do also have Scott Beatty from Beatty, not the same Beatty as your Beatty, with Urban Solutions is in attendance today. Scott, come on down, please. And I think you have a presentation for us, or? Okay, wonderful, thank you. We're just getting everything set up, so for people online. Okay. All right, Scott, anytime you're ready.
All right, thank you. Good morning, committee members. As you said, I'm Scott Beatty, registered professional planner with Urban Solutions. Happy to be here on behalf of Garner South MD Developments, Inc. who are represented in the crowd today by Hamed Hakimi and Alicia Zuetman. It is for the official plan and zoning bylaw amendment application at 559 Garner Road East. Before I get too far into the presentation, I do want to take this time to put a special thank you out there to Michael Farino and Jennifer Caterino for all their hard work they put into bringing this to the finish line. I know there was a lot of work and collaboration on this to try to get the best plan we could for the site and balance all those important municipal objectives. So thank you very much for your efforts. Looking at the subject lands themselves, they are located on the northeast corner of Southcote Road and Garner Road East, and are approximately 0.37 hectares in size and are vacant. We have approval for 57 townhouse dwellings to the north, as well as single detached dwellings in Moorland Park. We have restaurant and mini putt golf center and church to the south, commercial uses on Garner Road East to the east, including townhouse dwellings. And then to the west, we have Garner's Corner Cemetery, open space, and single detached dwellings. The proposed development is a 7-story multiple dwelling containing 99 residential units, and 146 parking spaces are proposed to accommodate these units. There are road winding dedications on Garner Road East and Southcote Road to help with the urbanization of those streets, bring sidewalks to them, as well as a multi-use path to Southcote Road, and a daylight triangle dedication. From a tree planting perspective, there are 38 trees proposed to be planted through this proposal, 9 of which are public street trees and 29 are private trees. Great efforts were made to ensure that 30 cubic meters of soil volume were achieved on site to allow those trees to grow. Over 80% of the proposed plantings are native species on this site, with additional opportunities to increase native species intended to be explored farther at the site plan stage. And invasive species on site currently are intended to be removed through the construction process. Some quick facts about the development. There are 41 family-sized 2-bedroom units proposed, which is great for the town of Ancaster. As we know, that's always a priority for council. Again, there are those 38 trees proposed. There was notching of the underground parking garage roof along the eastern lot line that was accommodated to ensure that there was adequate soil volumes there. There's 57 bicycle parking spaces included in the development, and beyond the sustainable measures already included, opportunities to incorporate additional sustainability measures will be explored during the site plan stage. Here we have the building elevations from Southcote Road, building elevations from Garner Road East. And I am going to move because I see the clock ticking down here, and I want to really get to the public comments because that's important. We did receive some public comments that were concerning tree removals on site. I do want to speak to that specifically. As I mentioned, there are 38 trees proposed as part of the development, and we did work extensively with city staff to maximize tree plantings on site while balancing those other municipal objectives like urban design best practices, fire truck route circulation, waste collection, as well as efficiency of housing provision. Unfortunately, those existing trees on site are in locations that really did restrict development feasibility. And given that this is designated as an infill site in the secondary plan, we are trying to intensify the site and provide that important housing for the city. A lot of these trees were located centrally or along that border for those road winding dedications. There were questions about the family-friendly housing, which there are 41% of the units proposed to be 2 bedrooms or larger. From a traffic perspective, there was a transportation impacts study done, which recommended that the existing road network was capable of accommodating an increase in traffic while maintaining acceptable levels of service. And from a servicing perspective, there is a holding provision applied through the zoning. So rest assured, no development will proceed until suitable storm and sanitary infrastructure is in place to accommodate the density associated with this development. And then very quickly, the sustainable measures included with this development. I mentioned the 80% native species. Exterior light fixtures are intended to be downward facing to mitigate light pollution concerns. It is located on an HSR transit route, provides 57 bicycle parking spaces, promoting that active transportation to and from the site. Energy modeling is to be incorporated during detailed design to support energy efficient building envelope design. Waste diversion is supported through compliance with the city's waste collection guidelines and the implementation of a 3-chute system in the multiple dwelling. Stormwater management tank in the underground helps with the processing of stormwater flows during major storm events and the slow release of that stormwater to the municipal system. And on top of all this, application of farther sustainability measures in keeping with some of those Hamilton Green building standards are committed to be explored at the site plan stage. So I think this is a really great project. It's compatible with the area. It's respectful of the character. It's consistent with the provincial planning statement. It conforms to the official plan. And the proposed modifications maintain the intent of the zoning bylaw and overall is good land use planning. So with that, I am happy to answer any questions at this time.
Thank you for your presentation. So Scott, just to confirm, you are in support of the staff report?
That is correct.
All right, so do I have any questions for the agent from committee? Might be getting off late today, Scott. All right, thank you very much. May I have a mover and a seconder to receive the delegation from the agent, please? Councillor Francis and Councillor Pauls. This is a hand vote, so may I have a hand vote, please? Looks like everyone, and that carries. We do have registered delegates. So is Karen Hewlett here or online? It says, what does Karen say? Unable to unmute myself, it says I require permission. So thanks for writing that into the chat, Karen. We're just checking that on our end. So I think Sal, one of our clerks, has sent a request for you to unmute. So you should be able to see that. Still working through this, so still, don't have a request and I still can't unmute. All right, there's been nods. Apparently, Sal's sending it to you like 6 times and clicking a lot. Are you able to show your camera at all? Are you able to turn on your camera, Karen? So the camera won't work, not sure why. So how about, Karen, why don't you try to log yourself out, log back in again, because we'll make the call out to the public and then we'll also make sure to always come back before we close this public meeting. So give that a try, log out, log back in. All right. So let's go on and ask, are there any members of the public, and I'm going to draw this out in the longest possible sentence, that wish to speak at this public meeting about this topic? Are there any members of the public that wish to speak at this public meeting? For a third time, are there any members of the public that wish to speak at this public meeting about 559 Garner Road East, Ancaster in Ward 12? Sal, has Karen logged back in again? All right, so why don't we take a 5-minute recess just to allow Karen to log back in, and that just means that we're showing a recess. I need a mover and a seconder. Councillor Pauls and Councillor Maureen Wilson, hand vote please for a 5-minute recess, and that's everyone, and that carries. Thank you. 5-minute recess, thank you. online, but calling in. So Karen, there is a time limit on a delegation, so typically about 5 minutes. So it's 4 minutes. You should hear a ding, and at the 5-minute mark, there's another ding, but I'll also try and stop you. And then after you're done your delegation, please stay on the line just a little bit longer, just in case we have any questions for you. So Karen, anytime you're ready, you can start your delegation.
Thank you so much. Sorry for the technical difficulties. So the email that I wrote in was with regards to the 559 Gardner Road East Ancaster development. So just some details from my email that I'll share of concern with me and some residents. It is quite a large undertaking, and more what's concerning is that's in conjunction with the extremely large townhouse development pretty much right beside it. So just with Gardner Road, the increase in traffic, also, the project includes provisions for underground parking, which can have various impacts on the environment. Environmental impacts include soil disturbances, erosion, and then the development can also generate significant noise and vibration, which can disturb local residents, wildlife, and impact surrounding infrastructure. So a lot of our concerns are around the impact to the green space. There's also, we've been under a lot of construction on Gardner Road, so there's a lot of concern that this will cause even more roadwork and traffic interruption to the area, which we've already going to be experiencing a 2-year, close to 2-year interruption with the construction already underway. With regards to the tree protection plan for the build site, I was just wondering, there's all the trees are being removed and not any, from my understanding, are being kept. So I was just curious how a tree protection plan has no protection in place for any of the trees. I understand there's some replanting, but also aware that if replanting doesn't occur, then there's simply just a fine or a fee that they pay for that. So just wondering if there's no option. I know other developers in the area that I mentioned in my email, we did, I guess the city, my understanding is, did go back to them and ask them to keep, I think, 10 large coniferous trees, and they were able to adjust their building and met that no problem. So just wondering if there's any option for further consideration with regards to all of the trees being taken down. And just some concerns if it's a family friendly. If so, will there be any park space provided or safety protocols for increased road safety because of where it is? It is a very high traffic area. And then just a note, I know Hamilton is aiming for a canopy coverage of 40%, which is critical for supporting the health and well-being of our community. And currently Hamilton sits below this mark at, I believe, 18%. So just wondering how the removal of all the trees at all fits into this. And then at the 509 South Coast development, there's already a plan to remove 376 trees. So just to highlight some of that within the area, we're going to be losing such a massive canopy cover with the tall trees in the area. And I know a lot of that blocks out a significant amount of noise to Gardner Road for some of the areas. And the recent development I was talking about was they kept the 10 bordering coniferous trees was Zena Homes just on 382 South Coat Road there. So just a lot of concerns about the green space within the city, which is my major point within the email, and hoping the city can take another look at that. So I think I heard the ding, so I'll stop there.
Thank you so much, Karen, for your delegation. I have a the speakers list is open if there's any questions. Okay, seeing as there are no questions, so Karen, I did hear that you had several questions that I've taken note that I can ask staff for later, which was the tree protection plan, especially if the tree canopy, we need to hit a certain target. You also asked about whether there was further options on saving more trees. Another question was because of the family-friendly mix of housing, you were asking about increased road safety. Do I have those questions correct?
Yeah, that's a lot of them. Thank you.
Okay, all right, thank you so much. So you are welcome to log off and continue to watch this meeting from YouTube. So now May I have a mover and a seconder to receive the delegation so that all public submissions were received and considered by committee, and that the public meeting be closed, please? Mover and seconder, Councillor Maureen Wilson and Councillor Pauls. And this is an e-scribe vote, please. May I have your vote electronically? Vote is up. That vote carries 8-0. Thank you. So now I need a mover and a seconder to approve the report recommendations, please. Councillor Pauls and Councillor Maureen Wilson. Speakers list is open, so if any speakers, before I put myself on the list. All right, so I'm going to put myself on the list, which based on our new procedural rules, I don't need to pass the chair because I'm asking factual questions. Right, Clerk Turnham? Yes, okay, awesome. So the delegate asked several questions, one of which is a tree protection plan. And in particular, she asks about, is there any option to further save more trees on this lot? So I wonder if I could ask that question to Mr. Fiorino.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Michael Fiorino, Planner 2 with Development Planning. Staff and the applicant did review and explore opportunities for further preservation. The applicant has included underground parking. With the site being the size that it is, it's a bit difficult to not extend the boundary. Decisions to retain trees are based on condition, aesthetic, species of the tree and age. Unfortunately, the majority of the mature trees and larger sized trees are within generally the central location of the site, so any type of development would hinder very difficult for preservation. As well, looking at some of the trees along the northern property line, those trees were on the either poor or dead trees, so preservation of those trees would not necessarily be of benefit. So this would allow for compensation of those trees, as well as ensuring that native species are provided. There are the majority of trees, or there's a mix of native and non-native species to the site. Some of the larger, including the weeping willow, which is kind of brought up in some of the written submissions, that's a non-native species. So although picturesque and not necessarily native to the area.
Okay, thank you very much. My second question, also from the delegate, is around the creation of family-friendly homes units within this development, but they asked about road safety. So how does that factor in here?
So through the chair, there will be, I'll kind of provide planning's explanation if transportation wants to add any additional, but with this development and the development located to the north, traffic safety in the built out area, the roads will be urbanized. There is a multi-use trail located along the eastern portion the eastern portion of Southcote Road on the frontage of the subject land, as well as to the 509 that would continue, which is currently stopped at the intersection north of the site, at Burbridge and Cisnero and Southcote to the north. So those improvements would occur, as well as including sidewalks around the perimeter of the site.
Okay, thank you very much. I don't have any more questions from the delegate. However, I have been asked by Councillor Cassar, who is not able to be here with us today, to read a statement on behalf of him and his office on this particular development. So let me just pull that up for everyone. So this is Councillor Cassar's voice. Please envision it's Councillor Cassar's voice speaking this. I apologize that I am unable to be in attendance at this week's planning committee, but I am currently on my way back from a workshop in Helsinki, Finland, entitled Healthy Urban Policy. It was funded by a federal grant by the Canadian Institute for Health Research. I'm excited to bring back all the knowledge and insights from this trip and find ways to make Hamilton a healthier city. I am grateful to me for sharing my thoughts on this development proposal at 559 Southcote Road in Ward 12. Each development proposal must be considered based on many factors. No specific development is appropriate in just any location. Good development boils down to the appropriate development for the site, height, massing, scale, and how it fits into the city's vision. Hamilton's approach is to focus the bulk of increased density along transit corridors like Garner Road, which is the site of the proposal. Enabling more people to live near transit lines provides the option to mass transit, a more sustainable form of transportation that eases the traffic from single occupying vehicles on our roads. Further, developments like this increase the viability of transit. It's a virtuous reinforcing circle. In recent years, Hamiltonians at large have come to appreciate the value of land, the many harmful consequences of low-density sprawl, and the benefit of maintaining the modicum of natural heritage we have left after decades of urban boundary expansions. I am well aware that approval of this proposal will result in the loss of 40 trees, including a truly majestic weeping willow with a trunk diameter of 186 centimeters. I know that every heritage tree lost in Ward 12 is felt keenly by the community, and I'm very thankful to residents who have taken the time to stand up and speak on behalf of our natural heritage. Your voices are valued and so important to this process. I was opposed to removing the trees of over 370 trees at 509 Southcote, which is directly adjacent to this site. However, that proposal has been greenlit by the OLT, and every tree on the lot, including dozens of towering conifers, except 4, will be removed. That was a very short-sighted decision beyond the control of Hamilton City Council. I'm also grateful to my colleagues' recent support to deny the proposal on Hamilton Drive, where nearly 700 trees would be clear-cut to allow a net increase of 13 housing units on the land. However, a modest missing middle density in a compact form at this location is a much wiser decision than conceding the same number of low-density units outside of the urban boundary, consuming farmland and natural heritage on a greater scale, and requiring a disproportionate infrastructure investment for the number of homes provided. From another angle, we are also being forced to deal with the rising costs of housing that have fundamentally changed the housing market, which now excludes demographics such as young people starting lives on their own. This has forced us to take a hard look at housing mix available in our communities and come to the realization that a historical model that overwhelmingly supplies single detached housing is a huge contributor to our predicament. Although I don't expect these units will be affordable by any reasonable definition, they will provide the opportunity for local residents to right-size their housing and stay in the neighborhood. Whether they are empty nesters, widowers, or otherwise, there is benefit to potentially freeing up family-sized housing within Ancaster or elsewhere in Hamilton. Finally, with each new development proposal, we must also consider the constantly evolving legislative environment in the province of Ontario. Infill density projects like this one provide a significant amount of overlap between the provincial housing objectives, council priorities such as improving the tax productivity of our land for the benefit of taxpayers, and meaningful community benefits such as aforementioned additional missing middle housing stock and alignment with building a strong public transit network. With each of these elements in mind, this project is a good fit and I support it. I urge my committee colleagues to also consider these facts in hopes that they will come to the same conclusion and support the staff recommendation to approve this application. All right, cool. All right, good. So we do have a mover and a seconder to approve the report recommendations. Seeing as there are no other speakers, may I have your vote electronically, please? And the vote is up. Bye, City Lab people. Have a good day. And that vote carries 8-0. Thank you very much, committee. We are now moving on to 8.2, which is PED 25118, applications for a zoning bylaw amendment and draft plan of subdivision for lands located at 515 Jones Road, Stony Creek. I think Drew is here. Drew is here, so would committee like to see the staff presentation or waive it? Seeing a shaking of the head, so I need a mover and a seconder to waive the staff presentation. Please, Councillor Beattie and Councillor Maureen Wilson. This is a hand vote. May I have a hand vote to waive the presentation? Seeing all, that vote is carried. We also do have Victoria Colantonio with Urban in Mind in attendance. Virtual today. Victoria, do you have a presentation that you'd like to share with us?
I do, yes.
Oh, wonderful. So I think you can just turn on your camera and then go ahead and share your presentation. Ah, there we go. We
Can everyone
see
see
it.
my screen?
Yep, go ahead.
Perfect.
please.
So good morning, council members. My name is Victoria Colantonio. I'm here as the agent representing the applicant for 515 Jones Road in Stony Creek. And this presentation is for a zoning bylaw amendment and a draft plan of subdivision. So here we have an aerial view of the subject property as well as just a quick presentation overview. So I will be speaking to the subject property itself, surrounding properties, a brief policy overview, and then the proposed development. So here's a current street view of the subject property. It's municipally known as 515 Jones Road in Stony Creek, which is situated in the city of Hamilton. It is considered a corner lot because it abuts two municipal roads, Jones Road to the east and Lakeside Drive to the north. The site has an existing lot area of approximately 2,913 square meters and an approximate frontage of 55 meters on Jones Road and 53 meters on Lakeside Drive. It is currently occupied by one single detached dwelling with an accessory detached garage and shed. The site has vehicular access via Jones Road. So the subject property is on the City of Hamilton's inventory of heritage buildings. However, the property is not listed or designated under sections 27, 29, or 41 of the Ontario Heritage Act. Nevertheless, measures have been taken to preserve the cultural heritage of the property as demonstrated in the Cultural Heritage Impact Assessment, which was submitted as part of this application. In terms of abutting properties, this is a new subdivision located to the east of the subject property along the other side, the east side of Jones Road. Here's just another view of that subdivision, just demonstrating some newer development in the area. In terms of the official plan, the subject property is designated neighborhoods, which permits low-density residential uses such as detached dwellings, as well as residential intensification within this designation. In terms of zoning, the subject property is currently zoned low-density residential large lot R2 zone as per the City of Hamilton zoning bylaw 05200, which it was recently brought over from the Stony Creek zoning bylaw. In order to facilitate the proposed development, a zoning bylaw amendment is required to rezone the property from the R2 zone to an R1 zone, which is more appropriate for the subject property. This is our subdivision plan, the proposed subdivision plan. So it will result in the creation of 5 lots, 4 new and 1 retained, on a corner lot that is suitable for and able to accommodate growth and development. The subject property is large enough to facilitate the proposed residential dwellings while also maintaining the existing dwelling that will be relocated due to its heritage features. So we've worked really closely with the City of Hamilton on what to do with this heritage feature on the property. So we have provided a relocation plan completed by Tacoma Engineering, and as well as the Cultural Heritage Impact Assessment, which has recommended that the house is able to be moved based on the fact that the basement, which is the existing foundation, is not designated or identified rather as a heritage feature. So we are able to lift the existing heritage dwelling off of the foundation and relocate it onto a new foundation, and that will be on lot 1 of this plan that you see. So the proposed zoning bylaw amendment will facilitate an appropriate redevelopment of a currently underutilized site, given applicable provincial, regional, and local policy requirements, and will support an orderly development, the maintenance of the built heritage features, and provide housing options to meet the needs of current and anticipated population growth in the City of Hamilton. In terms of the zoning provisions, this is a straight rezoning from an R2 to an R1. We're not asking for any site-specific zoning provisions at this time, so we meet all requirements of the R1 zone with this rezoning. These are the proposed renderings. Again, they're conceptual for now, as we have talked to Councillor Beattie, and he has told us that he would like to see a more, I guess, an older style of architecture rather than newer. So these are just conceptual. We're not really sticking, these aren't set in stone by any means. So we are just showing this as a concept rather than what is actually being proposed. And just for reference, we do have another subdivision plan located to the west. So the subject property is the green square on the screen. And to the west, that will be the anticipated extension of Lakeside Drive, which will now include 515 Jones Road on the corner there on the east corner. And that's all from my presentation.
Thank you, Victoria, for your presentation. And just so that we know, are you in support of the staff recommendation?
I am, yes.
Excellent. So we do have a speakers list open. Councillor Beatty, please.
Thank you, Chair, and through you, Victoria. Thank you for the presentation. And I did mention this in conversations both with yourself and the proponent and also at the neighborhood meeting that was held last year. Very, very appreciative of the concept of retaining that heritage home and moving it to a new location with a proper foundation. I live in a home very similar in style to that, so I really do appreciate retaining some of the cultural features of our historic Fruitland area in terms of that was an old farmhouse. It's nice to retain it in that existing mix. And I do also appreciate the comment about trying to, and I think what I was hoping for is blend. It wasn't necessarily trying to have an older style, but just something that blends in. And it's going to be a bit of a challenge because you did make note of the very modern architecture across the street and a heritage home adjacent. And then you did make mention to the adjacent proposal to the west, which I believe is a Lozani development, trying to blend in so that nothing really sticks out and looks out of place in terms of how this development comes to play. I'm wondering, just in reference to the additional subdivision to the west, if you could speak a little bit more, because I know that it was a question from the community in terms of bringing services to that area and your coordination, I think, with the developer to the west and making sure that it's a seamless piece of work, a seamless engineering exercise to both urbanize, bring in sanitary sewer, any utility locates that the plan is to do it once in a coordinated effort as opposed to a piecemeal effort with yourself and the other adjoining property. Could you speak a little more on that?
Correct. So we are working with the same engineer that Lozani Homes is using. So we're hoping for a seamless integration of the new services, and hopefully those will be all brought at the same time, as well as the extension of Lakeside Drive, because that's something that we're working in tandem to do that all together, rather than, as you said, as something that is more of a piecemeal development. So rather than doing it like that, we're trying to do it all at once.
Okay, thank you for that. Thank you, Chair. I'm supportive of this. I think they put in a lot of intentional effort into multiple facets of this, trying to retain some of the heritage features, trying to blend in with the existing community, trying to coordinate with another development taking place at the same time, working to urbanize a rural, what used to be a cottage private road, now bringing it into the city inventory. There's a lot of moving pieces here, but I'm appreciative of the work that's been put into this.
Great, thank you so much. Up now is Councillor Crutch, please.
Thanks. I agree with Councillor Beatty about all the things that he said. My only question for you is two, really. They're related. One is about a tree replacement ratio on the property. And just based on the documents I have in front of me, I did a little searching for that language and didn't find it right away. So wondering if you could just confirm for me what the tree replacement ratio is on this property. And then I have a question for you about the letter that's on the agenda.
Yes, so our proposed ratio is 1-to-1 right now, which is as per the standard, and we have provided a landscape plan that demonstrates that, as well as an arborist report that demonstrates the feasibility of doing so. I do understand that the Six Nations have had some concerns and wanted to propose a 10-to-1 ratio. We are not supportive of that, as this is a residential development, and implementing a 10-to-1 tree replacement ratio does seem a little bit extreme, as we're trying to maximize the lot sizes and the amenity spaces. And I understand that that will add to the aesthetic of the properties. However, I think that 10-to-1 is just a little bit much for the size of the property and what we're trying to propose here. We're not closed off to discussions with Six Nations to try to come to a compromise, if that is something that is of concern, of immediate concern.
Yeah, so that was my second question, is what consultation you have had with Six Nations and whether you'll be definitely engaging with them and what your response is to the letter they submitted, because I don't see anything here about that.
So right, we just received that this morning, so we definitely will be consulting with them just to kind of figure out where we can find a happy medium just in between what we're proposing and what they would like to see. We definitely will be having some further consultation with them.
Thanks for saying so publicly that you're going to take the time to directly engage with them, and that will happen. I think it's important to address the concerns that they've raised here, especially with respect to, I think, what they're talking about, which is ongoing engagement for projects like this. And so I have some questions for staff about that. But with respect to this property, I'm hopeful you'll be able to engage with them and address the concerns in the letter. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Seeing as there are no other speakers, may I have a mover and a seconder to receive this delegation from the agent, Councillor Beatty and Councillor Kretsch. This is a hand vote. Oh, sorry, Councillor Maureen Wilson, please.
Thank you. My apologies, Chair. Just on that point of engagement, if I could just probe a little bit further, recognizing that they are just in receipt of the correspondence, what would engagement look like from the applicant's agent?
So at this point, we will be reaching out to Six Nations, and there, I believe it was a planner who reached out about that. So we will be reaching out to them and have a meeting with them and the applicant and try to see what we can come up with, possibly our landscape architect and the arborist as well, just to see what's feasible for the site and what would make the most sense and what would make everybody happy in this case.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. So you will be reaching out, you will be securing meeting, and you will be having a discussion.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. We do already have a mover and a seconder, so I do need a hand vote, please. Hand vote. And that looks like everyone. Thank you. Thank you, Victoria.
Thank you.
So now we are asking if there are any members of the public that wish to speak at this public meeting. And this is again on 515 Jones Road. Are there any members of the public that wish to speak at this public meeting? And for a third time, are there any members of the public that wish to speak at this meeting? Seeing none, may I have a mover and a seconder that public submissions were received and considered by the committee, and that the public meeting will be closed. Councillor Beatty and Councillor Kretsch. This is an electronic vote, so may I have your vote electronically, please? And the vote is up. Vote carries 8-0. Thank you. Now may I have a mover and a seconder to approve the report recommendations, please? Councillor Beatty and Councillor Kretsch again. Excellent. Any questions? Councillor Kretsch, please.
Thank you. My questions are primarily about the consultation part of this document. At the end of the letter from the folks from Six Nations, they said something I thought that was interesting. And hearing from the agent for the developer that they just got this letter this morning, it just poses an interesting question to me, which is like how we are doing this consultation. At the end here, it says that consultation in this area hasn't really happened essentially a lot, and there's been a lot of intensive development. At the bottom of the letter here, it says that. In the consultation, it seems like we had a neighborhood meeting and other kinds of things, but are we reaching out to folks in advance? It seems like if we did that work and the letter came today, that may be a consequence of their own timing internally. I'm trying to understand what we did to ensure that this information was available much sooner than today.
Director Del Bello, please.
Through the chair to the councillor, circulation was provided to Six Nations through the initial application, and we received no comments from them through our processing of the application. Also, we provided them notice of the public meeting, and again, no comments were provided, but we just received the comments ourselves in the last several days after the report has been prepared and after the report has been gone through the process of review. So but circulation was provided to them on numerous occasions on this application and other applications.
Sorry, if I may, committee's indulgence, Steve Robichaud, Acting General Manager, Planning and Economic Development. On a related but different or parallel note, staff have also been having consultation with our Indigenous community and partners as it relates to the update to the tree bylaw and the tree preservation guidelines and methodology. And those are ongoing discussions that we are having with the Indigenous partners and communities. In their letter, they're actually asking for a different standard as it relates to tree planting. We have the standard that when you think of like a street tree, where the letter they are talking about tree plugs, which my understanding is that would be more akin to like a seedling or a small tree, that I'm thinking of large reforestation projects. So we need to have better understanding and clarification as to the nature of their specific ask. And that would be something that would be more appropriately accommodated through the development of a citywide update to our tree preservation guidelines and or the tree bylaw, as opposed to dealing with individual applications. But as I believe the agent for the developer has indicated, they are prepared to continue to having that conversation with the Indigenous communities, and we can facilitate that through the work that Mr. Coit and his team is leading around the tree bylaw, as well as colleagues in Public Works and MLE, and that reaching at what would that look like. You know, if you look on the location map on Appendix A in the upper left-hand corner, there is a parcel of land zone P5. And in those previous approvals for that was established as a natural area to serve as a linkage and a landing area for migrating birds. So there may be an opportunity to do some enhancements if it's seedlings or small trees to be planted in that location above and beyond the individual standard tree guidelines. But I think both the applicant, to be fair to them, they would have to know what the cost is and what those specific parameters are. And is there an opportunity to accommodate that tree planting within that P5 area, or somebody else, or some other location along the Stony Creek waterfront that would, in order to provide that sort of biodiversity habitat area that I think that both the city and the Indigenous community are speaking to in their letter, and the ongoing work that's being done around the tree bylaw update. Sorry, I just wanted to put that in context to what our plan is moving forward. Thank you.
Thanks. I think it might be helpful to have some of that information included in planning reports in the future in terms of circulation to communities. I know there's a certain radius that everybody gets circulated for kind of as a standard. I don't think everyone is always aware of what those things are and how that circulation works. And so I think it's just helpful to have in the consultation section of the report some more information in there about what's been done or how that's been done. I looked and didn't see the circulation elsewhere. That might just be that I missed it. But I was looking in the consultation space, and that may be just me missing it in another space that it might be. So saying that maybe it's helpful to enrich that space by saying, you know, we've reached out to consult with folks. We did get a letter back from them on X day. They have submitted as correspondence. Like that information I think would be just helpful to have from a transparency perspective. Thank you.
Acknowledged, and staff will make the change to the reports going forward with the next, maybe not with the next possible agenda cycle. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Maureen Wilson, please.
Thank you. Just on that same thread, I know we've had this discussion several times in terms of what does consultation look like, and we, I think, have publicly acknowledged that circulation of notice and follow-up is good, but in terms of the weight, perhaps the volume of what Indigenous representatives are receiving from multiple municipalities, I think it is significant. So if I might ask, could you remind me, please, through the acting GM, what are we doing at present to try and frame that engagement with respect to land use planning? And have we received any feedback from Indigenous communities on maybe a preferred method of outreach, what it might look like? I'm really enthused to hear about that engagement presently on the tree bylaw work that we're doing at the outset as opposed to a responsive mode. But if you could help me a little bit, thank you.
So I know you directed it to GM Robichaud, but I do see that Director Coit has stepped up to a mic. So Director Coit, please.
Through the councillor, Ken Coit, Director of Heritage, to the chair. Sorry. Ken Coit, Director of Heritage and Urban Design. The division started working with the Indigenous communities on circulating applications, all planning applications last year. We've been meeting with them quarterly, to review how that's going. We will have another meeting in a couple of months on various issues around committee of adjustment, various policy concerns that are coming out, and timing of applications. So we are working through that. We are committed to continually meeting with both the Mississauga and Six Nations regularly, both in person and online. So those conversations continue, and we continue to try and develop our work. We have encouraged them through the urban forest strategy and other strategies to be looking at our policies and having them involved in our policies long term, so we can get their concerns addressed through overarching policy, so that we have a more strategic and a way applicants can have more certainty in moving forward in working with the Six Nations and both the nations.
The only thing, Madam Chairman, and to the council that I may wish to add is we are cognizant, based on the conversations and reaching out to the different communities, that it's not a one-size solution fits all for all communities for all applications. So through that conversations and discussions with the different Indigenous partners, trying to ascertain is what are their preference, what is their ask, what is their approach to that consultation. Some are more concerned with larger strategic issues, such as at the official plan stage, and are less interested in minor variances. Other groups are saying, because of the volume, they're just happy receiving a letter in the mail, so they're aware what's happening. And others are saying a little bit more, say, bespoke in terms of what our response would be back to them, and tailoring what do we circulate them, what resources can we make available to assist them with their review process, whether it's mapping information, other documents, and trying to assisting them as they're required. And as Mr. Corey indicated, through regular sort of discussions just around process and not focusing on the applications, we can have that better dialogue and conversation with the Indigenous partners in terms of how we engage with them, how we circulate to them, and what we expect and what our needs are in terms of a response, as well as what their needs are in terms of how the information gets translated or sent to them as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm really heartened to hear that you have a regular series of meetings that are ongoing. I'm really enthused that we are acknowledging publicly that input needs to be had at the beginning of policy development as opposed to a responsive mode. I'm grateful that we're acknowledging that the needs and the wants are different. Having now attended the Mississauga of the Credit historic gathering for 2 years now, it's clear that they are exercising these interests, that they are sharing at these gatherings their best practices, and that they wish to participate early and sometimes often. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing as there are no other speakers, we do already have a mover and a seconder, so may I have your vote electronically, please? And the vote is up. That vote carries 8-0. Thank you. 8.3 has been deferred based on our agenda amendment addendum thingy at the very beginning of this meeting. So we'll move on to 8.4. 8.4 is PED 24163B, which is the implementation of the pilot downtown Hamilton office conversion grant program. Are there any members of the public that wish to speak at this public meeting? Okay, are there any members of the public that wish to speak at this public meeting? Are there any other members of the public that wish to speak at this public meeting? Seeing none, may I please have a mover and a seconder that there were no public submissions received regarding this matter and that the public meeting be closed. Councillor Crutch and Councillor Beattie. This is an e-scribe vote, so may I have your vote electronically, please? Vote is up. And that vote carries 8-0. Thank you. So now may I have a mover and a seconder to approve the report recommendations? Councillor Crutch and Councillor Beatty? Yes. Any questions for staff at all? No questions. Phil Caldwell, you don't have to worry anymore. Okay, awesome. All right, so seeing as there are no questions, may I have your vote electronically, please? And the vote is up. And that vote carries 8-0. Thank you very much. We are now moving on to item 9, which is items for consideration. 9.1 is PED 25121. This is the application for cash in lieu of parking for lands located at 121 and 135 Mary Street in Hamilton in Ward 2. If required, Daniel Barnett is here, but Councillor Crutch says no. So I think that we're okay right now. So may I please have a mover and a seconder? No vote of waiving. That's what it says right here. Okay, so we don't have to worry about that. All right. So now may I have a mover and a seconder to approve the recommendations in the report? Councillor Crutch and Councillor Pauls. Any discussion on item 9.1, please? And Councillor Crutch, please.
I'll keep this really brief. This is really just about a cash in lieu of parking. It's not about the development itself. Just in case anybody is interested or wants to know, this development was approved with delegated authority during the interim period between the last term of council and this term of council. So this isn't something that's before us as a decision with respect to the development, the site application, zoning, and those types of things. It's simply about the cash in lieu of parking for an affordable housing development. Thanks.
Okay, excellent. Also pausing for more dramatic effect. All right, seeing none, we do have a mover and a seconder. May I please have your vote electronically, please? And the vote is up. Bless you. That vote carries 8-0. Thank you. We are now moving on to 9.2. This is the Hamilton Municipal Heritage Committee minutes dated for April 25th, 2025, and it's at HMHC 25-005. GM Robichaud, I know we have some really cool stories coming out of this one, so if you could, please share a little bit.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I would like to bring to committee's attention 2 heritage designations included in today's Municipal Heritage Committee report that demonstrate an evolution in our designations. Typically, designations have spoken mainly to 19th and early 20th century architecture and its elite male European builders and designers. In the case of these 2 designations included in the Heritage Committee report, the Buildings Association with equity-seeking groups play an important role in their reasons for their designation. The 2 properties I'm referring to are 2 Hat Street in Dundas and 54 King Street East in downtown Hamilton. 2 Hat Street, one of the oldest buildings in Dundas, built as part of the new Dundas Mills in 1804 and owned by the Hat brothers, has an important association with the history of slavery in Upper Canada, and specifically the story of Sophia Pooley. Sophia was a black woman born into slavery, brought to Upper Canada circa 1785, and purchased by Samuel Hat circa 1798-1799. She was enslaved by him for 7 years, likely included during the time that 2 Hat Street was built. 54 King Street East, a classical landmark in the Gore Park, constructed for the Bank of Nova Scotia in 1914, has an important association with the 2SLGBTQ+ community. The Embassy nightclub opened in the building in 1993 is one of the very few openly 2SLGBTQ+ friendly spaces at that time, and was often the focus of the community as it gained wider acceptance through the 1990s and early 2000s. I would like to recognize the Cultural Heritage and Tourism and Culture staff for their work in reaching out to the affected communities to document the histories of these 2 important properties and individuals. I would like to thank Dr. Richard Douglas Chin and the Afro-Canadian Caribbean Association and those members of the 2SLGBTQ+ community who worked with staff to develop these designations. I encourage you to spend some extra time reviewing these designations as they offer a fascinating insight into the City of Hamilton's past. Thank you very much.
Thank you, GM Robichaud. Very interesting indeed. Now, may I have a mover and a seconder to receive the minutes and approve the recommendations therein? Councillor Crutch and Councillor Alex Wilson, please. Any discussion on item 9.2? Councillor Cretch, is this new? Okay, Councillor Cretch, please.
Yes, thank you. Just to echo what Acting General Manager Robichaud said, I was at the Heritage meeting and thought it was particularly helpful to have the presentation from, I'm going to make sure I get his name right before I say it, Dr. Richard Douglas Chin, who talked about and challenged a bit some of the assumptions around how we understand these things, why this is unique and different, how this adds to our understanding of Black history, and how that contributes to how we evaluate heritage applications. So I think if people don't know, the video is available online, you can watch it. And so I encourage people to go and have a look at this. And it was a very meaningful moment for people at the Heritage Committee, because we don't often, or haven't often in the past, if ever, really use these kinds of considerations when deciding how to make these designations. And so it's an important part, especially for downtown, especially for queer history in our city, but especially for Black history in Dundas. And I mean, for those who don't know, this building has been in a bit of a state of affairs for some time. And so the context around this and the history around it is interesting, but so is the present context. So I encourage people, if they've got the time, to go and watch the video and learn a bit more about it.
Thank you, Councillor. Excellent. Any other questions, comments? Seeing as there are no other speakers, we do already have a mover and a seconder. May I have your vote electronically, please? Vote is up. That vote carries 8-0. Thank you. Excuse me. We are now moving on to item 12, which is private and confidential. And I think that the committee wants to go into closed. Oh, yeah, Councillor Pauls is a very emphatic yes. All right, so may I please have a mover and a seconder move into closed session for items 12.1, 12.2, pursuant to the section 9.3, subsections E, F, and K of the city's procedural bylaw 21-021, as amended, and section 2392, subsection E, F, K of the Ontario Municipal Act 2001, as amended, as the subject matter pertains to litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board, advice to the subject to solicitor-client privileges, including communications necessary for that purpose, and a position plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on or on behalf of the municipality or local board. I need a mover and a seconder, so I think Councillor Pauls and Councillor actually Councillor Beattie said yes. So may I have your vote electronically, please? Vote is up. Ooh, sorry. Vote carries 8-0. So, members of the public, the meeting will continue following the closed session portion of this meeting. When you see members of committee rejoining, the committee will wait up to 5 minutes upon reconvening in open session before proceeding with the meeting to provide members of the public and the media time to return. Thank you. All right, awesome. We are now back in open session. This is 12.1 LS 25011, appeal to the Ontario Land Tribunal for lands located at 1494 Upper Wellington Street for lack of decision on zoning bylaw amendment, ZAC 24-020, application is in Ward 8. I do need a mover and a seconder to approve, 1, that the directions provided to staff in closed session respecting report LS 25011 be approved. 2, that directions 1, 2, and 3 to staff in closed session respecting report LS 25011 be released to the public following approval by council. 3, that the balance of the report LS 25011, including Appendix A, remain confidential. So a mover and a seconder, Councillor Pauls and Councillor Beatty. This is a vote in e-scribe, please. Councillor McMeekin, the thumbs up. Vote is up. And he's a thumbs up anyway. Yep. And that vote carries 8-0. Thank you. We are now moving on to 12.2, which is LS 25014, appeal to the Ontario Land Tribunal for lands located at 9451 to 9867 Dickinson Road and 1199 and 1205 Glancaster Road, Glanbrook, for zoning bylaw amendment application ZAH 22-021 and draft plan of subdivision application 25T 202203. This is in Ward 11. May I have a mover and a seconder to approve, 1, that the directions provided to staff in closed session respecting report LS 25014 be approved. 2, that directions 1, 2, and 3 to staff in closed session respecting confidential report remain confidential until made public as the city's position before the Ontario Land Tribunal. And 3, that the balance of confidential report LS 25014 remain confidential, and that's from Councillor Taddison and Councillor Beatty. This is an e-scribe vote. May I have your vote electronically? I think you guys caught that one right, so. Vote is up. That vote carries 8-0. Thank you. Seeing as there is no further business, we are adjourned at 12:25 p.m. Thank you.